me, it's about embodying real wealth. And what I mean by real wealth is that years ago, I had realized that people currently operate financially in different categories. There's poor, there are debtors, dreamers, accumulators, and then there's rich but empty. And what I realize is that anyone who's poor, debtor, dreamer, or an accumulator, they all think that once they get the multi-millions, they're happy, they've arrived, they've made it, but they're still empty. And this is where, if you embody real wealth, it doesn't matter where on that linear line you are, you can embody real wealth no matter where you're at, because it's about aligning with your heart and your soul and finding the next adventure and the next piece of evolution that really helps you to increase more wealth from all areas of life, not just financial abundance, but from an abundance of good health, an abundance of love and relationships, to where it affects all those areas of life and you elevate up. And that is the definition of real wealth.
Here I am with Julie Murphy, now 25 years certified financial planner, chief visionary officer at JMC Wealth, multiple teaching appearances. We're talking Oprah, Lifetime, CNBC. Today's focus on Awaken Your Health, the missing link to health, and also author. It's just the books that you have out on your site. Just listen, The Emotion of Money. That should give you goosebumps. Okay, Julie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Can you share your story, how you went from wealth management firm to financial healer and money therapist?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a little bit different parts of the spectrum there. Yeah, you know what? I was a finance major down at the University of Illinois back in the day, and did the whole thing, the dog and pony show, the blue suit, got the degrees, went into, I have 8 brothers, so it was really easy to go in finance with a bunch of men. And what I realized is that it was very masculine. Money is masculine, right? But anything in its extremes creates some kind of dysfunction. And so what I started to realize, what started to get left to the side, was that we had to bring humanity back into finance. Because I can't intellectually, in my left brain, manage money, make an efficient portfolio, get your cash flows the way you want it, but that's not how people make their decisions. Because when we are operating from our subconscious minds, we then start to tailspin, and nobody ever wants to create fiscal dysfunction or challenges, or same thing in the health world. And so my journey in recognizing this and realizing this, going, wait a minute, people are saying, well, what am I supposed to do financially? And I go, well, what do you want to do? And I was never asked that before. And the red light really flashed in front of my eyes when I had a Chicago police officer come to me, and she said to me, Jewel, I heard that you can find a way for me to retire, and I need to do it now. And I was like, but you're 4 years before a full pension. Why, and I said, can I ask you why you want to do that? And she says, because the love of my life was killed in duty and I can't walk into the building anymore. And she had seen 7 other financial planners before me, and nobody asked her why she wanted to claim her pension early, which is like a financial faux pas, because she would only get 55% of the value. But she emotionally couldn't walk in the building anymore. And I found a way for her to live and still thrive. And to this day, it's actually now 25 years later, and she retired from the force. She's thriving. She just pivoted and shifted her life so that she could be in a place of expansion as opposed to a place of a broken heart. And nobody else in the finance field that she saw could recognize, are you stupid? Why would you walk away from a full pension? Because she emotionally couldn't. And that was a huge pivot point where I said, you know what? I need to start really focusing on the human heart and become more of the therapist realm than actually coming from my left brain logical and what is the fiscally responsible thing for you to do? Because there's so much shame, blame, guilt, and judgment surrounding money, and we need to heal that.
My God. Okay. Yeah, this is genius. You take something crazy. I mean, what we talk when people come to me with diseases, anxiety, stress, depression, multiple sclerosis, autism, and I say, well, it's not really that. That's the presentation of your physical, chemical, emotional stress.
Right.
And so we address the underlying cause.
Right.
Now, generally money is a stressor. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, okay, and I know it's to keep printing it and knowing that it's losing its value. Money is a major emotional stressor.
Right.
Now, can you share your connection on that? Because that is just brilliant.
Right. So I always say that we work things out and we act it out, and we act it out through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. That's what I've come to learn. And when I started to realize I could have somebody who's fiscally prudent and they've done all the right stuff, I started to realize how are you doing in your marriage? Because they wouldn't even talk to each other. I'm like, what do you guys dream of in your retirement? And they're like, well, let's just hope we don't kill each other. And I'm like going, who wants that for retirement? I hope we don't kill each other, And I go, well, what's going to make you happy? And it's like this happiness and joy component financially has been completely left to the wayside because we feel like we have to negotiate that away and leave our heart on the sidelines while we're trying to show up and be prudent and do the right thing, and so if we're not triggering into those emotions, and it led me down to my research of, oh, wow, every single human being has some kind of trauma or rejection before age 7 that is the core wound that actually creates then how they interface with money. Maybe they use money as a control piece over other people. Maybe they use it as a suffering cycle, they just can't stop using their credit cards, and it's over and over and over again. And what I've realized is that I had this one woman who, she came in and she said, I am way far behind my retirement planning. Can you just tell me what I need to do? And can I come in once a year for an annual checkup like I do the doctor? And I said, sure. Well, 1 year, we totally addressed her $44,000 of credit card debt. Within a year, she had gotten it down to 20-something thousand. But in a year when she came in for her checkup, she had gained 35 pounds. And I was like, what's going on there? And she's like, I know, I'm going to sign up for an Ironman and I'm going to get this weight off and blah, blah, blah. Weight came down after the next year. Credit card debt went up to 56,000. It's like she was doing this teeter-totter between these two worlds. And I said, what's going on? I go, are you happy with your job? And she's like, oh, I have this boss who reminds me of my ex-husband. I'm going, oh, she's attracting the exact same person in her life. Now it's just her boss. She got rid of the ex-husband. And I'm going, where's this emotional component here? And as I peeled the onion with her, it came down to the fact that she always wanted to have children. And she was now 47. And she was like, that ship has sailed. I go, I don't think that's sailed. You still want a kid. There's fostering, there's adopting, there's surrogates. And she's like, you really think I can have a child this age? I go, I think if it means that much to you and I said, or you're going to create disease in your body because you hate your life. I can fix your money stuff, but disease is going to crystallize on a cellular level. Those unprocessed emotions in your physical body will layer up and crystallize. I can give you all the money in the world. I'm not going to bury you with your money. So let's get you to a life that you love so it all fixes. Within a year, she wound up fostering 2 girls, and actually I think the kids are now 10 years old. She adopted them, and then she left that employer. She's getting paid double. So it's all related, and we found that core piece that she just really always wanted to be a mom. And it didn't come in the package that she necessarily wanted, but she found a way, and she peeled the onion, and she's loving life.
My God. Okay, we always hear that money is an energy. Okay, it's alive, and can you explain this in simple terms? Because one of my mentors told me that there has to be an exchange of energy.
Yep.
Okay, absolutely. For healing to occur.
For sure.
So there always has to be something. Can you explain that in simple terms?
Sure. So think of money that it has to flow. So the word currency comes from like the word current. And a current, if you think about water, flows. The problem is we get jammed up with our money, right? So we either spend money we don't have, so then our flow feels really good. So emotionally we're getting satisfied, but we're doing it in a way that the banks or the government control your life because you created all this debt, right? And so that energy exchange was something that had a ceiling on it because it depends on somebody else, something outside of yourself, approval of whether or not you're good enough, or is that going to reinforce your shame and your blame and your guilt and judgment around money? So when it comes to energy, it's about opening up the flow. It's really important. I tell people all the time, you have got to take the word budget out of your vocabulary completely. And then people be like, why are you telling your clients to do that? And I go, because if I tell you go down on a budget, how does that make you feel?
Restrictive.
Totally. Yeah. Who wants to feel restricted? Nobody. So we have to shift it from a place of disempowerment and scarcity into a place of empowerment. And how you do that is deciding, how do you want your cash to flow? And that compelling reason for change to direct the energy of your money is by having that fund your goals and your dreams of whatever that is at whatever stage of life that you're in right now. Because to me, once the disease develops in your body, with everyone that your crowd is the fact that, oh, you're getting the wake up sign. I talk about this in my first book, The Emotion Behind Money. That's the universe sitting here taking a 2x4, cracking you over the head and going, shift in this other direction or you're going to be off the planet, because you're being called to shift it. And it's about, you're being called to your happiness. You're being called to your soul to align it. And that's what all of these, whether it's in a divorce and half your money went out the door, or if it's in a disease where you had to go through chemotherapy, right? Or whatever that is for you, right? Those are the crises. And I believe we do not have to call in those crises energetically to actually shift. We can be proactive beforehand before the crisis hits.
My God, my mouth is on the floor right now. It's like holy moly. Because when I'm talking or even thinking about a financial planner, they're thinking about dollar bottom line end. You're talking about life
What's my rate of return?
Joy. It's incredible. Okay, so now.
So can I add this real quick? That the reason I focus on the joy and the happiness, because the money is actually just the result of how you're plugging into the world. It's the result. So if you are aligned with your heart, so we know from the research from heartmath.org that the magnetic force of the human heart goes for over 8 miles. The magnetic force of our brains goes for 2 feet. So which one do you want to make your decisions on? Something that's going to attract the stuff you want with a huge magnet called your heart, or your brain in making good fiscal decisions?
So every philosopher talks about life being actually easy.
Right.
It's like rowing downstream. Totally. And if you're working too hard, it's just
getting in the flow.
Okay. Because everyone's got their own definition of wealth. Okay. Sure. What's your personal definition of wealth? Because this is already, my mind is blown. Okay. and how in your personal definition, how can we create it for ourselves?
Yeah. So to me, it's about embodying real wealth. And what I mean by real wealth is that years ago, I had realized that people currently operate financially in different categories. There's poor, there are debtors, dreamers, accumulators, and then there's rich but empty. And what I realize is that anyone who's poor, debtor, dreamer, or an accumulator, they all think that once they get the multi-millions, they're happy, they've arrived, they've made it, but they're still empty. And this is where, if you embody real wealth, it doesn't matter where on that linear line you are, you can embody real wealth no matter where you're at, because it's about aligning with your heart and your soul and finding the next adventure and the next piece of evolution that really helps you to increase more wealth from all areas of life, not just financial abundance, but from an abundance of good health, an abundance of love and relationships. to where it affects all those areas of life and you elevate up. And that is the definition of real wealth.
Okay, the five archetypes. I know you, on the pain you were talking about, debtors, dreamers, accumulators.
Yep.
What can you expand on that a little bit?
So, like when you think about a debtor, it's somebody who's just in that debt cycle. So if we don't interrupt the pattern of cleaning up your financial past while living in the present moment and planning for the future at the same time, you feel like you're just a black hole. So people who are poor or debtors, that's how they feel. It's like a black hole they can never get out of, right? It's like they're just stuck in the system. Then you have the dreamers. The dreamers are like, okay, I can get there. And they always have good intention. And then they have these bursts of like, I'm going to do this. And then they feel like they get slammed down. And they do this teeter-totter with debt and building up wealth. But it's like they build it up and then they create all this debt. They build it up and they expand and contract and expand and contract. But they really don't financially get anywhere per se. And then the accumulators, those are the ones that have really figured out how to be income affluent. So they're generating cash flow. But at the same time, they're generating bigger mortgages and bigger car payments. But yet they're generating, but they're not really being able to hold money in abundance. And rich but empty, that is when you figured out the income affluence as well as the asset affluence. So they've accumulated some wealth, but they're still not happy. I cannot tell you how many people, I actually think rich but empty, most people don't think this way. They actually have a harder time than anyone who's poor, debtor, dreamer, or accumulators, because someone who's a poor, debtor, or dreamer, they don't have anything to lose. They'll jump off the ledge and go for the next adventure, no problem. So like, what am I going to lose? It's kind of like when I started my business when I was 22 years old, I was like, I have 11 brothers and sisters, and I'm never going back to eating fried bologna or macaroni and cheese. So I was like, well, how bad can it get, right? So I think it's harder when people have amassed wealth because then they go into protection mode and they're showing up how the family expects them to, as opposed to their authenticity. But all along the way, you're going to be challenged to show up more authentically time and time again. Because if you're not, that's when you act out, whether through your money, your health, or your relationships.
Oh my God. Okay. I gotta read this quote because this is just brilliant. Wealth, and it's just what you said. Wealth doesn't come from managing your money. It comes from managing the emotion behind your money.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I see a lot of physical barriers that always, there's 100% have an emotional component, 100%.
Absolutely.
And you have to address the physical, chemical, emotional to attain normal physiology, normal function, and normal adaptation. What are the most common emotional barriers that you see?
Yeah. So I will tie that to, so I think of money in three different ways. There's your financial past, your financials in the present moment, and then there's the finances of the future. Now, most financial planners that you work with actually only talk about the future, and they don't even talk about all aspects of your future. They only talk about the aspects of your future that they get paid on, right? So this is where the dysfunction in the industry has kind of come to a crux in the road. So your financial past represents your debts. Whether we justify they're good debts or bad debts, it doesn't matter. Debt represents a lack of freedom. And so if you have debt, you are not free to live in the now, to live in the present moment, and make decisions based on your intuitive knowing, because you're so stuck in your financial past decisions, because you have to make all those payments, mortgage payments, student loan payments, car payments, payments to your friends and family, and list them out, right? Credit cards. But that is also how we think that we're abundant, because we're spending on debt, and really you're just giving up your freedom. Where in the present moment, it's about your cash flows. It's about choosing your cash flows from a place of empowerment. So when I have people write out where their money is going out to, and I don't care if you're making $1 million a year or $40,000 a year, it doesn't matter. It's more or less zeros. It's all the same emotions, because we're all human, right? And it doesn't matter what race you're from, what country you're from, it's all human emotions. So when you start to see where your cash is going out, something may have been there in the past that was important to you, but if you asked yourself today, is this important to me today? People would go, not so much today. Or how many people have things going on their credit card every month that they forget that they're even posting on their credit card every single month? The subscriptions and the payments and, which could have been very useful for you a year ago, but today not so much. So this is where I really try to guide people to go into the present moment and saying, hey, does this plant the seeds? How you're spending this, does this plant the seeds for the tomorrow that you really want to create? And then we start to actually set things up in your future buckets that actually has intention behind them. And people are like, I don't know why I bought that investment. I'm like, well, what do you want it for? And they're like, I'm not really sure. I'm like, well, do you think it's for this thing you told me about? And like, I never thought about it like that. Like, we've disconnected to a purpose behind why we're doing what we're doing. And so I press everybody on their whys, so then their purpose and meaning to their money actually can come to the surface. And everybody has a different definition of that. And they're like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? And I go, there is no supposed to. And they're like, really? Like, I've had more people since the pandemic come to me going, Julie, I know you're going to tell us we can do this, but our whole family thinks we're crazy. I'm like, great. That means you're right on track. Because they just want permission to go actually live what their soul is calling them to. And so this is how, when I look at money differently, it's like I'm looking at it in buckets that my industry is not even like tapped into.
Oh, gotcha. Now people, and I had a doc working with me for over 10 years. And I'm paying him $180,000 a year. He has no debt, no kids.
Yep.
And he was always broke. Okay. So people are that, I know you use the term stuck people. Okay. But they can't see out of it. Okay.
Well, because there's two areas, Dr. B. Yeah. There's two areas. So there's income affluence and then there's asset affluence. And they're different. So many of us have figured out how to be income affluent, so you generate the cash flow. That's why we've become such great spenders, because we've learned how to figure out how to generate cash flow, but then we don't know how to hold money in abundance because of our energetic vibration. We don't know how to hold that container and be okay with it. It's almost like you have to breathe into it because of whatever communities and households you grew up in. That is how your subconscious mind is hardwired to handle money. And you might be doing the complete opposite of the childhood that you grew up in, or you might be doing the exact same thing and repeating the patterns. Either way, the question is does it have intention behind it? Because if you don't have a why, well, then you're just going to keep blowing your money and you're just like, well, I don't really know, and whatever.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. That you've got a new book, okay, coming out, Awaken Your Health with the 4 Spiritual Laws of Money. I mean, honest to God, the other books, The Emotion of Money, Awaken Your Wealth. It's the spiritual nature of an energetic object like money. Could you tell us more about your books, whichever one you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it started with the fact that we have to recognize that we do have emotion behind money. And if you find, like, if you're an emotional spender or there's the tug of war between spouses, like, that's where I tell people, like, start off with the emotion behind money and I have a book and a workbook and an online course that you can take because it's about just really recognize it and start to see that patterning and know that you're perfect in the version that you are. And those emotions coming out are just things that you haven't felt from your childhood that need to just come up and out and feel them. And you don't need to create fiscal dysfunction in the process. And because the only way to the other side is to feel the feelings that you've not felt from your younger years. And I wrote the second book, Awaken Your Wealth, because when I realized, this is the process I work clients one-on-one with, I want people to be able to have access to this at large. And so Awaken Your Wealth is actually the process that I walk people through. And it's called the PACT process, P-A-C-T. The T stands for taking action. And that's where most people operate from a financial planner standpoint. They're like, okay, well, what product can I sell you to get you to the next place and manage your portfolio efficiently? There's 3 steps before that to really get to that subconscious emotional mind that will align. So it's picturing the world that you want to create. That's your compelling reason for change. Then you have to awaken your authenticity and accept the reality that you've created That's the second step. And then you have to choose and commit to the change in the process, to plug into the world differently, and then you take action, because then you understand your why. And so that too, I have a book and a workbook to go with it. And yeah, this fall I have my third one coming out called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Money. So super excited about that.
Just talking to you, okay, it feels like you're a breath of fresh air.
Aww.
This is honest to God, this is a whole different world, because I've had a number of different teachers and masters, and they always say it's the why behind the action that drives it. Right. The energy behind, you're coalescing so many things that I've known about in an area that I couldn't even freaking imagine. The philosophy of financial planning. It's like, come on. Okay. So you got a new thing, Launch Your Life.
Yes.
And please, it didn't make any sense before I talked to you. It makes all the sense in the world.
Totally.
I don't care what you say the next few minutes. I'm trying to sign it up for it.
Right. Well, it's about so many people are starving to live the life that they really want to live. So they're just waiting to launch their lives. It's like, well, what are you waiting for? Let's launch, and let's actually get to the core of what's blocking you from the launching, and be around a community that actually will lift you up and get you there. And so Launch Your Life is a way that what I've done on a one-on-one basis, I've now created in an online group coaching program. And every 3 months I start up a new group to start up. So my next one starts on August 10th. And that's about launching your life to get you to exactly where you want to be, because you deserve it.
Okay. And I know we have like a $600 discount for everyone on the Dr. B VIP.
Yes.
There's so much uncertainty now in other circles.
Yep.
With you, there isn't. Because it doesn't really matter. The dollar's going to lose its value, gain, stocks are going to lose or gain, 401k. No, what do you want out of this world? You're breaking down all the barriers.
Well, this is about making a really big pivotal shift in terms of building your life from the inside out. That's why it's a subtitle of my first book. It's The Emotion Behind Money, Building Wealth from the Inside Out, because that's your why. And so through this launching of your life, you will get super clear as to what your why is. And then now what you need to call into your life and do tactical steps so that you can get yourself there. And the challenge has been is when it comes to money in particular, we've done my friend said to do this, and everything outside of us. My parents do it this way. My successful brother-in-law does it this way. And it's like, but that's right for your brother-in-law. That may not be right for you. You have to let your freak flag fly. You have to be you. And this is about really embodying who you are and then scream it to the world. But most of us are so constipated that we don't understand how to get there. And it's like, let's loosen up and let's go.
Oh, God.
Sorry. You're getting a little bit of Julie there.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. And I miss Chicago. You were just like, thank you, God, for you. There's such a fear and what's fear? The false expectations appearing real. Yes. The only way to thrive in the economic world, I'm not talking surviving, thriving, is to live a parallel world. Okay. Right. Creating your own future.
Yep.
Okay. And breaking down the personal barriers that we have. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. No. What do you want to do? If you had a genie in the bottle, if you had a Julie in the bottle.
That would be funny.
Okay. I just seen the title of your next book, the Aladdin lamp with the Julie coming out.
Totally. I just might do that.
Okay. Hopefully this can be part 1 of 2 or 3 parts.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have had so much fun, and you have literally blown my mind. When I speak in front of audiences, some people say it's like drinking water out of a fire hose. Similar. Yes. I'm expecting an answer to a certain question, and it is off the friggin' wall.
Yeah. Totally understood.
Hun, where can people get a hold of you?
Absolutely.
I know there's a link below. I know, that Dr. BVIP, you get a $600 discount. Where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so juliemurphy.com. You can come to my website. You can sign up for my email newsletter list. I put blogs out every week with information, the timing of classes, and absolutely use your link and your discount. I've also got a YouTube channel, Julie Murphy on there, Instagram, Awaken with Julie, Awaken with Julie also on Facebook. So wherever your flavor is, you can plug in. To me, it's just about surrounding yourself with people who are going to support the life you want to create, as opposed to ones telling you how you can't. So however you want to plug in, we're here. We're waiting for you to come. So come on.
God, to support the life you want to create. That means you create it without limits.
Totally. Because you have unlimited potential.
Oh my God. You're taking what we do in health to finances. Okay.
I just really started to realize how we were tag teaming back and forth between people's health and their wealth. And I was going, like my one client where she wound up with credit card debt, and then she did the Ironman. Her credit card debt went up and her weight went down. And it was like, we do this seesaw. And I always talk about leaky containers, that when we're not showing up authentically ourselves in the world, we think we're building this structure. So I had this other client that I was talking about, and I go, he had this really great job opportunity to go out on the East Coast. And I said, I don't know, you told me your dream was a ranch out west. I'm like, I don't think Manhattan sounds like the ranch. And the thing is that he just wanted to create this space for himself. And like I said, the money always follows. But if he would have chosen to go to Manhattan, and I've seen this happen so many times, it's as if you're selling your soul. And that's when I tell people, like, this is when disease actually develops in your body. Because you have got to choose your heart and soul over the money, because the money will show up in spades. Like, he could not have planned it, but he was just named the CTO of the company that he went to work for a couple of years ago. And he's out west. He's on his ranch with elk going in his front yard, and he's loving life. And now these companies from Manhattan say, hey, you can work from your ranch out in Colorado, but we'll pay you. So they're willing now to pay him the money and not be in Manhattan. And it's just amazing to me how I continuously see this show up. And everybody's got that piece where it's like, because you're trying to make this decision from your head, and you have to make it from your heart and trust that all will show up. And that creates real wealth.
Oh my God. Okay. If you don't have enough incentive to sign up for the class, at least purchase the book, because this is a completely different way to approach life. Yeah. I mean, if you're not utilizing the energetic aspect and the spiritual aspect and the emotional aspect, all tied into money, and if you're raised, Catholic, where it's the love of money that's evil, and no,
you're supposed to give it away, or else you're a bad person. Like, what? No, see, can I comment on that? Because here's the thing. We need to, just like we put on our oxygen mask in the airplane first and then somebody else, financially, you have to do the same thing. But so often we give, but that's your leaky container because you're not solidifying your own world. So you're built on stilts. And then you wonder why it happens, and then it crushes you and you're like, because you're not insulating yourself from the things outside of yourself, like the economy going down or inflation, or because you've not created your own personal insulation. And this is where then you get stuck and you're in that negative vortex around your money, because you are swinging with whatever's happening in the world outside of yourself, whether it's Ukraine and Russia and energy prices and food prices. But if you've insulated yourself and you're following your joy so more money can show up, then it's like, yeah, that really sucks that that's happening, but it's kind of not affecting my inner world too much, so I'm okay. And that doesn't mean millions and millions of dollars. It can, but it doesn't necessarily have to be millions and millions of dollars.
If you're not inspired yet, okay, you're probably asleep. You've got to sign up, and this has got to be the first of a few parts, because you are going to be saving the world. I mean, I'm good at altering nervous systems and, helping health. But none of that matters if your lifestyle, you've got to address the physical, chemical, and emotional, and the debt, the wealth, the importance we put on money, and everyone's saying, invest in gold, invest in this, invest in that. No, mate, you're talking about investing in yourself and your dreams and your hopes and your desires and your expansion.
Invest in you.
That is not the standard. You are not a financial planner.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get the gold. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get the stocks. But understand your why behind it, not because you're operating and plugging into the world from a place of fear. That's when somebody else has control of your life, if you're making a financial decision based on fear because I'm going to go run and get gold.
Okay, the quote behind you, if Warren Buffett and Gandhi ever wrote a book together,
it would result in something like this. Yeah, some beautiful soul who I don't even know wrote that on Amazon review about my book, Awaken Your Wealth. And it's true. It's really merging the spiritual and the financial together.
I've been with you a half hour, and it's 100% true.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Clearly, I'm in my joy and my authenticity.
You are amazing. Oh, okay, I mean, sign up for the courses. You get the $600 off. Look at the links below. Kat's going to take care of everything. But Julie, thank you so much for being here. You are amazing. You make me want to go back and visit Chicago again.
Well, come on down. I'm here. We'd have some fun.
God bless you, my dear. You're amazing. Okay. I'm definitely going to be seeing you later.
Sounds good.